All right, so we're just after 10, so we'll get started. This is the self-service automation in event spaces.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for coming. My name is Mark Eschbach. This is the self-service automation in event spaces session. If you're looking for a different session, this isn't it. So I am going to attempt to teach you how we went from needing a technician at every single one of our events to almost never needing a technician at any of our events. And I want to teach you guys how to leverage your touch screens in such a way that it will ask users about what they want to do for their event, and then it sets the room up for them. So just a brief introduction about me. My name is Mark Eschbach. I started out doing live event stuff as a kid in New Jersey, moved to Arizona, got a degree in sound design, started working right away at Scottsdale Community College doing live events. So I have a lot of live events and theatrical background. Opened at Tempe Center for the Arts as their audio engineer for a while. My boss from SCC begged me to return, so I did. I continued to do audio engineering, video engineering for events, things like that. And then in 2016, I was voluntold to be transferred to Mesa Community College, just down the street. And this kind of really, this is what started sort of my installed kind of career sort of stuff. And then in 2019, I moved to Tacoma, Washington, and became the Regional Media Services Manager. I have a small team. I have like 1.5 people that do stuff. We're an extra on house, and we kind of oversee the technical things for all the events, and all the classrooms, all the meeting rooms, the Zoom rooms, the whole 9 yards. And of course, my shadow covers up my page numbers on the screen, so if I move out of the way, I'm just looking to see what slide I'm on. These are our primary event spaces here at the University of Puget Sound. They're all kind of the same. They all have really big ceilings. They're all kind of really big boxes. They're all kind of okay for events. The university is very, very old, and so they wanted to keep that sort of old feel to it. And they really, really like optics-centered kinds of things. They really like the way things look, less the way things function. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm more of a function kind of guy, so there's always sort of a balance between, the function that I want to see and the optics that they want to see, and so there's always kind of that push and pull with it. On top of that, a lot of the faculty, not so much the students, but staff, admins, they're very, very sort of technophobic on that stuff. When we put touchscreens in classrooms, they really didn't like it because they were afraid they're going to break something. I don't want to touch it because it might break. This touchscreen doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, that makes no sense because you all have touchscreens in your pockets. How'd you get here today? So we actually traded out our touchscreens for button panels, and they loved it. It was the weirdest thing. We couldn't do that though in event spaces because there's too much stuff that you kind of want to control it, right? Our educational technologists did a survey, I guess, and they discovered that on average there are about 300 events happening per day on the campus. Now that includes everything, right? That includes meetings and classrooms and anything that needs some sort of technology. We're very, very event heavy on that. We have meetings about meetings. We actually have events about other events. It's very strange, and I kind of had to get used to it when I was there. So this is the primary room that we're going to talk about. This is our Tacoma space. This picture makes it look very, very narrow. I don't know why. It's not very narrow. It's actually a little bit wider. But this is our primary space as it looks now. It's got about a 100-person capacity. It's about 71 by 36, something like that. It's used more than any other space on campus for administration functions, for rentals, for dinners, for meetings, presentations, anything you can think of. This is the #1 room that they stuff people into. So it gets heavy use. So with that sort of in mind, that's kind of where I'm coming from and kind of how I got here and how I hope I can get some of you guys here too. So the first concept that I kind of want to introduce, that's the sort of top view of the space there. So the first concept that I want to introduce, even before we start building GUIs and setting that stuff up, okay, is this. Whatever event you have has to bend to the abilities of the room, not the room bend to the abilities of the event. Okay? The room can only bend so far. If a room has 4 microphones and no other inputs, it kind of can't bend too much farther. There's much better ways to fluctuate the event. Maybe people share a mic kind of thing, okay, rather than having a mic per person, right? So it's easier to get the event to bend to the abilities of the room. Let's see, where am I at? We talked about that. Slide number 9, great. So once you have, I had fun making this one actually. Once you have what your space is available to do, okay? Once you've sort of established that, that's really essential to the self-service model. And once your abilities are established, enforce them. All right, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be a jerk about it. Give them other options. I can't give you, 10 microphones, but I can give you 4 microphones. Let me help you kind of figure out how that will work. Okay. So don't be afraid to enforce what the room can do, because once people believe that, oh, you helped this person over here and their unreasonable request, therefore you can help me too. And then things that were standard now become, it's sort of like scope creep, right, but for event spaces. So don't be afraid to kind of enforce. This is what the room can do. If you want to do something that's far outside of this room's abilities, let me see if we can get you a different space that would accommodate what this room can't for your event. So concept 1 is set your expectations, right? Define what the room can do. So, for example, we had a lot, our prior expectations were kind of what I was explaining, right? A client will come in, I want 12 microphones. Okay, fine. Our instructions are we'll get you the 12 microphones. And if we wanted to do that, that means we got to get a console, we got to get cables, we have to unplug stuff from the rack and plug this into it. We've got to get all that technology stuff together. That means I need an engineer to run it, so that means possible overtime. That means I lose that employee for the rest of the campus. So if that guy's in there running this event and the classroom goes down, there's only so many of us to go out there. So now what happens? And so it really becomes a giant headache to have people be stuck in a place that didn't necessarily need to be. And the reason this happens is because we didn't say no to anything. We didn't define what the room can do and then advertise those definitions, like in 25 Live. The room can do this. If you want to do something more than this, go to this room instead. So kind of anything goes was the sort of the law of the land. We were there all the time. On top of that, at the time, this room had a lot of older technology. It was good technology, but it was older stuff. It was past its life cycle. It wasn't going to last much longer. And so, of course, we all know that causes a lot more kind of failures to happen. And so what we did is accidentally taught the campus that, oh yeah, if you're going to teach in this space, or you're going to present in this space, you better have a technician because something's probably going to go wrong. And so we had to have a media tech there all the time. And based on what leadership was saying, basically we had to implement a no miracles policy, okay? So, and the no miracles policy was sort of left up to me to define, and so I defined it this way. Thou shalt not disconnect, dismember, deconstruct, rewire, or otherwise reconfigure any hardware or software in the lecterns, racks, or anywhere else for a singular event. Because what was happening is people would come in and they would want a whole bunch of microphones or whatever, and so we would disconnect stuff from the DSP and we would accommodate that, and they would have their event, and when we're done, we'd unplug it again, and maybe stuff got put back correctly, maybe it didn't, and now the next person who comes in has even more problems, so we had to take the rack apart again, troubleshoot for that. And one of the things that we learned in theater, and those of you theater people who are here kind of know, once you get something working for a show, leave it alone. touch it, don't fiddle with it, don't dingle its little berries, just let it go, okay? Leave it alone, let it run for the show, okay? And we were totally not doing that in the space, and it caused tons and tons and tons of problems. The second thing I want to introduce to you guys is the technological reliability, okay? Pretty much everything in an event space can come down to those four things. You can kind of add lighting in there depending on it. We don't really have any lighting control, so it's not online, but you can add lighting in here if you want to. But pretty much everything that the client is going to touch or use falls into those four categories, and we'll see how that's useful here in a minute. Now, after a time, things failed enough that leadership began to take notice, and they're like, okay, you win. Let's get some updated equipment. And so this is what we do. I'm not going to go through all this stuff. A lot of you guys are familiar with all this stuff. It's pretty standard things. This is what worked really well for us. Maybe it'll work well for you. You guys may or may not have different manufacturers and such. That's fine. But just to give you an idea of what's in the space now, this is what we wound up with. Our signal flow is basically this. I know that's really small, even though this amazing screen is a lot bigger than I was expecting. But I get that this is a little small, but this is sort of our basic signal flow. Let's see if the laser works on that. Yeah, kind of, yeah, how about that? So this over here is everything that wound up in the lectern. This stuff over here is pretty much everything that wound up in a credenza in the back. And so we had to find a way to get the lectern stuff to talk to the credenza stuff. And then after that, we've got HD-based-T go into the projector. We've got screen controls, all the other kind of automation stuff that happens from there. And it looks like this. So here's our basic signal flow for the lectern. It gives you a switch with a minimum of 2 inputs that folks will usually use. Let's see. After that, this goes into the floor box that you can kind of see at the bottom there. They get a lot of network connections between the credenza and the floor box, not much of anything else. So whatever we need to move from the credenza to the lectern kind of had to be over Cat5 in some way. So we kind of had to make some conversions and things to do that. Here's our floor box, complete with garbage that people kick in there and never clean out. We all have 1 or 2 or 10 like this on our campuses, I'm sure. And then here in the credenza, so this is just a closer look at the credenza sort of signal flow. Yeah, let's see. So our basic user features are this. You can project anything you plug into it onto the screens. You get 4 wireless handheld mics. You get 1 lectern mic, so a total of 5 mics all together. You get a lectern computer, which is just a Dell laptop that sits on the top. You get a USB-C cable that will provide you audio, video, network, and power to whatever thing you have. So 1 cable does everything. It's amazing. That was really cool. This is not cool. It was just like an articulating webcam that we just put on a stupid arm, so we could do like really basic Zoom stuff. We kind of ran out of money for the big camera, so that'll come later. All of our microphones can be used with Zoom. We can talk about that later. And of course, we have what we're going to talk about next is the assisted setup for the GUI. Let's see. We talked about that. Okay. So this is basically our room definitions, right? This is what the room can do. If you need something substantially past this, this is not the room that you want to be in. You want to be in a different space, and we help people do that if it came to that. So at this point, leadership now came to us and said, look, we really need all of our event spaces to be a lot more self-service oriented. We want the customer to be able to come in and do stuff on their own. We don't want to have a technician. We don't want to have to pay for overtime for weekends, to be here all the time. We want folks to be able to walk in here and do this themselves and turn it off and leave and have a great experience. Good luck with that. And okay, I guess that's my next project. So at this time, before we did anything, this is kind of basically what the user would see. They'd come in, they'd wave their hand in front of the touch panel, it would turn on, and this is what you get. But there's a problem with this. And the problem is, Nobody knows what the hell any of that means. Okay, lectern PC, well, the lectern PC doesn't look like that. Do they mean the laptop? I guess so. HDMI cable? That's not an HDMI cable, that's a laptop. So is that, you see the problem, right? Is that laptop my laptop? Is the laptop that's on the lectern? What does that mean? Wireless mic volume. Well, is that one of them? Is that all of them? What, I know, so already, right, folks are really, really confused, right? So most presenters know what they want to do, most of the time, sometimes not, but they don't know how to get there, okay? And what we really need is an interpreter who speaks AV technobabble and common person talk. You see what I'm saying, okay? And therein lies the GUI. So this is sort of our home screen now. So now when people walk up to it, on their GUI, which is the graphic user interface, if those of you don't know what GUI means, and we're gonna use this to create a way for the touch panel to ask people questions about their event. And as they answer those questions, it will set up the room for them, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to do that. Once I save my slides. So, before you even touch anything, before you even go anywhere with any of this stuff, you gotta ask yourself some questions. You gotta do a lot of pre-production, okay? There was a gentleman from, I think it was AVI SPL, Kevin? Is Kevin here? Maybe Kevin's here? Okay. He did a session yesterday, and he mentioned, he said he was a video guy and the importance of pre-production, okay? This is your pre-production. You're gonna do a lot of pre-production, and then your actual production will be very, very small, okay? And here's how we're gonna do it. So, what can the room do, right? So this goes back to defining your room. What can't the room do? Which is similar to the first question. What are your typical client requirements? What kinds of events does this room draw? Is it dinners? Is it presentations? Is it dance parties for students? What kinds of things are happening in your space? And then the last, what will they need to know that can't be automated? Is it light switches? Is it replacing batteries and microphones? Is it setting up a mic stand? You can't automate any of that stuff, but you still got to communicate those things to the user. So how do you do that? So once you kind of make a list of all this stuff, what you're going to do is make a big giant roadmap, okay? You programmer folks are going to wind up calling it a flowchart. I'm not a programmer person, and I actually had a programmer say, dude, that's called a flowchart. Okay, my bad, it's a flowchart. But for now, we'll call it a roadmap, all right? Of the structure of how your GUI is going to look and how you move from one page to another page as folks answer those questions, okay? So you're going to think of kind of every scenario you can think of. And your first instinct is, oh my God, that's unlimited. Nah, because you've defined your room. You know what your room can and can't do. So within those limitations, what are your parameters? Every scenario you can think of within those parameters, kind of jot that down. The more limitations you have, the easier your roadmap build is going to be. The more features you have, which isn't a bad thing, the larger your roadmap will be. So you might need to find a balance kind of in there, especially sort of starting out. When you start writing down what kinds of questions you're going to ask your clients, make sure they're super easy, like yes, no, this, that. Nothing open-ended, nothing that's difficult to answer, because you're going to have to offer them answers that they will choose from, okay? Now at some points, my team was like, oh my God, this is so much work. We've got to write all this stuff down, this is insane. And yeah, it is some work, but you know what's more work? Going to every single event, grabbing whatever stuff you need from wherever it's from, setting it up in there, doing your event, losing a technician, dealing with overtime, schedules, questions, all that kind of stuff. That seems like way more work to me. To get up to this point, you haven't even left your office yet. And once it's done, you can set this up as a roadmap, I'm sorry, not a roadmap, as a template rather, that'll translate to your other event spaces. You'll have to make some tweaks and stuff. So let's take a look at this. These are your opening questions, right? Do you want an assisted setup? Okay. this one's important. We didn't originally have this question when folks sat down at first, and so when we went in to troubleshoot things, us technicians had to go through the entire assistant setup thing, and like, we already know what we want to do, oh my god, I'm sick of these questions. Give yourself a way to bypass all that stuff and get straight to the point of it, okay? So just something that I learned. So, do you want an assistant setup or not? The more users that come in there and get familiar with it, they'll eventually start bypassing it too. It's really for the folks who don't use the room very often or new to it. Do you want to use the projector? This opens up video land, okay? Your following questions will all be video related after this. What input device do you want, right? So when we say, do you want to use the lectern computer or your own device, what are we actually asking? We're actually asking, what input do you want to use? Because that's what we're going to program, okay? Do you want to use microphones? That opens up sound world. Do you want to play background music? After that, you're going to want to start branching out. This, again, I know this is really small. We're going to take a better look at this later. This is the flowcharts roadmap for the Tahoma, okay? So you can see in red, we've got all of our sort of control sorts of things, right? Do you want the assistant setup? Do you want to shut down? All that kind of stuff. All of our video stuff is in green. All of our audio stuff is in like this purple magenta thing, okay? Our background music is over here. And so what we did is every box has a yes or no or some kind of input for it. And then we're mapping where that button takes you next. So this is visually what you will see as a giant overview for the entire system. Does that make sense? Okay. Where are we? 24. So this is sort of the control region. It's just sort of a zoom in of that red area. You can kind of see that overview. This is the video region, so anything having to do with video will kind of go through this map. This is your audio region. It's quite a bit larger, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So basic map anatomy, okay? So each block, okay? This right here is going to be the page that the user's gonna see in the GUI. It won't look like this. This is just a representation of it, okay? But so, this is just sort of how we're scripting information for our owners, right? So the text here, this is the actual text that you're going to use in the control system, all right? And you'll just copy and paste that later on, all right? Name your pages. When we first started this, I was like, this will take like 6 pages. No big deal. Yeah, no, that was a lot. Name your pages. We wound up with like 20, 26, 30 pages or so. We ran into letters. I got to get a larger alphabet if we're going to do this. So name your page. We just put that in the top left corner. Then we always know what to call this page in the programming software. Okay. The arrows take you to the blue arrows here in this case. Take you to what happens when you push this button. So if you say yes, this takes you to the next page. And then those have buttons, and they take you to the next page. You can say no, and it takes you to a different page. And then on this line, when folks say no, for example, in here, this is what you want to happen when you create it. So I want to move to page P. I want to unmute all my audio. I want to set all my audio levels, and I want to choose a video input. Those are the commands that I'm going to put in the structure later on when people push that no button. All right, so you're kind of laying this all out for every page, even before you've opened up your Eschbach or Crestron software, whatever you're using. Make sense so far? Okay. All right, we talked about that. We talked about that. Okay. Next, this was a huge thing that we found. Take pictures. All right. People don't know what the icons mean. If you have an icon of a USB-C cable, they have no idea what the hell that is. We've got people coming up to us at the service desk, and they're like, "Hey, I need a connector for my laptop." Okay, which connector? Well, I don't know. It's sort of round and maybe square on one end, and it's got this thing sticking out. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Show me. They have no idea. Okay, don't bother with icons. Use pictures instead. Use pictures of the actual thing that's going to be in the room that they're actually going to touch and put that in your GUI. It's not on here, but we actually had, we keep all of this stuff, like microphones and things, in a drawer in the lectern, in the rack. It's the only drawer in the rack. It's the only drawer in the room. And they couldn't find it. We actually had to take a picture of the drawer and put it in later iterations of this so that they can find the stupid drawer. Never underestimate what people think they can and cannot find. Okay? So just a tip. 28, 29. So here's another example of putting pictures in. This is the actual laptop that's sitting on the actual lectern in the space, right? This is the actual USB-C cable. So even if you don't know what a USB-C cable is, find the thing that looks like that, and it'll get you there. All right, so we found pictures work way better than icons. We didn't do anything special. These are just pictures we took of our phones. Like, we didn't have to do like a big photo shoot or anything like that. We just took a quick picture of the phone, throw it in the GUI. A picture is really worth 1,000 words and a lot of emails. So, where are we here? So here's an example of how the picture would work. Let's say you're going through the GUI design, you're going through the assistive setup, and I got to turn on the microphones. All right, no big deal. So we have a show me button. So if anything that they'll have to physically interact with that you can't automate, we have a show me button. It'll take you to this alternate page over here. All it is a picture. Push that button. When you're done, you say okay, and it'll take you back to where you were, and you can continue on with your setup. Okay, now that we've collected all of our pictures, we've stabilized our technology, we're set up in space, everything's working, we've answered all of our pre-production questions. Now it's time to take everything that we have in our roadmap and convert that into actual GUI programming. So we're using, we're an Extron house at UPS, and so I'm not going to go into how you use the program and stuff, but I will say it's very, very easy. Over here, we've created a whole bunch of our pages. These are all of our pages over here. We used to name them based on the questions that were asked, except that the questions were really long, and the space in here is very small. So we had like 26 pages of do you want, and then it all got cut off at the end. So we're like, okay, this isn't gonna work out. So then we converted to just calling the pages like, alphabet letters, and then we can just look at our flow chart to reference what our pages actually were. So this made finding them in this space a lot simpler. We created one page. That page was blank. It had kind of this red bar stuff here around, a blank red thing in the back. That was sort of our template. We made our boxes, and then we just copy and paste those elements or even that page. So when we want to create a second page, just duplicate the first one, modify it to how you need it. Duplicate it, modify it to how you need it. So you're not recreating stuff all the time. Copy and paste is your friend. Copy the text that you've already made in your roadmap, paste it into your GUI here, boom, you're done. Stay consistent. Use consistent fonts, branding, button placement, what's the other thing? Button text, right? So we have all of our buttons here at the bottom, okay, except the ones at the bottom. Most of our buttons are all over here on the bottom, and as you go through the pages, all the buttons are still on the bottom. If you move your buttons around on a per page thing, it's going to throw people off. Stay consistent. In Windows, the OK button is always on the top or the bottom right-hand corner, right? Kind of the same thing here. Make all your interface stuff the same from page to page, so people don't have to go looking around the GUI to find where the next button is. Okay. Make your text really, really friendly. Okay. Hey, look, you're all ready to go. Good job. Have a good event. Okay, you're set up. That seems dumb. And it kind of is dumb. And here's why. I was in Phoenix, driving around Phoenix for whatever gig I was doing. And it's early in the morning. I'm like, oh crap, okay, I'm gonna get some food. Go to Dunkin' Donuts. As you can tell, I really love Dunkin' Donuts. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts, and this is the first time ever I went through the drive-thru, and I pull up, and the lady's like, hey, welcome to Dunkin' Donuts. What can I get you? I like a coffee. And she's like, Good for you, that's awesome. Oh, okay. What else can I get you? Can I have like a donut? You're amazing. Yes, we're definitely gonna give you a donut. What else can I get you? And I'm like, this is insane. What is this? And so I order a couple of more things. But I'll tell you what, by the time I got to the drive-through window and picked all this stuff up, I'm like, I'm amazing! I ordered from Dunkin' Donuts. This is fantastic. It was so stupid, but it was also so effective, okay? So when you add that kind of dumb stuff into your pages, it's affirming for the person. Yes, the thing that I did is the right thing. I didn't break anything. Everything's going fine. I'm not getting a warning thing. So for folks with a certain amount of technophobia, that's really, really helpful, even though we as technicians don't think that way. We think, did it work, yes or no? But they don't know the thing to sort of think that way. One other thing I can suggest is have a help page that kind of is a catch-all sort of thing. What are other questions that people may have that they might not be able to ask, or you even ask, through the GUI? So we get a lot of things that can be fixed by Windows P. So you go into the thing, oh my God, it doesn't look on the screen like it does here. Windows P, and you say duplicate, and now magically it works, right? But no one knows that exists. So if they get into a sticky mess, give them a page that they can go to and list some common things that they're going to run into. Put it on here. Escape button takes them back to where they were, and you're done. You can move on. That's been really helpful. Okay, moving on. So now we have our GUI. We've created all the graphic stuff, and in Extron World, they have you create your GUI, you export that, and then you import that into the place where you're going to set up all of your control program. Okay. So now that we have our GUI, this is the place where we actually assign what does this button do. I can't change what it looks like in here, but now I have to decide what it does. Okay. So we have all of our system drivers over here. We choose the button that we want to work with, and then we just drag over the things that we want it to do. And then when you press the button, it'll execute that stuff in the list. There's really not a lot of what do you call it, like if-then kind of stuff, like logic programming and things. We didn't do any of that, and this actually works really, really well. You can do that, and you may have to do that depending on how your room works. But this was really easy stuff. First pass, when you go through all 26 pages or whatever it is that you have, just do moving from page to page. When I push this button, show page whatever that button goes to. Just do that on your first pass. Okay. Upload it, check it, see if it works. Don't even bother with control stuff. Once your page stuff works the way you want it to, then go back and put in all of your control programming. So yes, this button will move to page S, but I also wanted to change my my switcher to right, so do all the technical stuff later on. It keeps you from getting confused and having too many notes when something goes wrong. Let's see, we talked about that. You're going to want to test this a lot. So it's here before we move on. This is a bigger sort of execution, I guess, when you hit this button. So yes, you'll move to PUG, but also I want to unmute all my microphones in my groups and then set my mixer gains and do all this kind of stuff. So you can do big things in here as well. So test it a lot, okay? When you deploy this, it has to work the first time someone uses it without any issues. And that's how you build trust in the client. If you announce, hey, we've got this new GUI for this awesome space, go check it out, and they go in there and it doesn't work, then that's going to be how it is for them in their mind for the rest of time. So what you want to do is gain trust from them by making sure that this actually works every single time they do it. I'm kind of blowing through this quick due to time, but it's pretty complicated, and you can get lost in here really easy. So you don't want to break trust with your new system. If something actually does go wrong, that's not like a GUI error, or something we missed on the first time. Let's say the switcher goes down or something like that. Once they've gone in there and they've used the room 4 or 5 times and it's worked awesome, when it actually does break, it's not as bad. You're not going to lose that much trust because from their perspective, it's worked the other 4 times. This is probably just an anomaly, and hopefully it is. And then they'll go back. So it's easier to regain that trust after they go in here and it works perfect the first couple of times that they use it. So now we have one last problem, and that is, what do we do with all of this stuff that you can't automate? Turning on your microphones, changing batteries, setting up little tabletop stands and things like that. So you have to address that stuff within your GUI. So be prepared to do that. Do they need adapters for anything? Also, make this as easy as possible. Right? Put all the stuff that they're going to need in one place. If they can't find it. Like for us, we put it all in the same drawer. All of our little mic stands, that's the drawer that they can find. All the microphones, all the batteries, whatever it is that they're going to need that can't be automated, put in that drawer so that they can get at it, and it's all in one place. We have a chapel space where the microphones are over here, but the batteries are over there, and the mic stands are in that locked door back there. That's really frustrating for the clients, especially if they're renting the space. So try to keep everything as consolidated as you can, and then put notes to that in your GUI. We talked about that. This was one. Make sure you have all the same mic clips. So these Sennheiser mics, I'm a big fan of Sennheiser mic. I love Shure. If there's anybody from Shure here, don't get me wrong. But these Sennheiser mics just work really well in this space. They do take the larger sized clip. So make sure you have the larger size clip so that all the microphones fit in there, okay? Have everything pre-mounted if you can do that. Always keep batteries in the drawer. Notice we don't have batteries in this drawer, which is a problem for me. I'm gonna have to go back and tell somebody. But you should always keep the batteries in the same drawer. Please don't put your used batteries back in with the new batteries. You're gonna have a bad day. All right, next. Let's talk about the laptop. So our next problem, after we did all this work, is we found that people kept disconnecting the laptop. So we go in there and they pull out the USB-C cable that provides power to the laptop, and they're like, this isn't what I need. They drop it, it falls down into the lectern, and now we can't get it. And they don't tell us they did that, of course. So now the laptop dies because it has no power, and the next person that comes in, their laptop doesn't work. Now we gotta get a ticket. We gotta walk up there. We gotta plug the stupid thing back in. So we're like, okay, this. After a couple times, we're like, okay, this is dumb. We're not gonna do this. So here's how we solved that problem. I went to Home Depot and I bought a shelf, just a finished shelf. Put it on a table saw, right? Just cut it off so it kind of fits the laptop. A couple of command strips just so it doesn't slide around. I didn't want to piss off the computer guys. Stuck the laptop on it, and then what we did is we got these clippy things here, right? These are just cable guides, okay? Feed it through there because they kind of open like they kind of clamp, right? And then we just screwed it right down to the board. And if you bump the clip up to the connector, you can't unplug that. You can try. If they really want to, they can get out a screwdriver and unplug it, but nobody's going to do that. Okay? They're going to look at that and be like, "Screw that! I ain't touching that." And since we did this, no one has unplugged anything. So this has worked out really, really well. Highly recommend. Is it dumb? Yeah, but it also kind of works. On the other side, you've got just a Kensington thing here, and we even did it to our Ethernet cable. People just disconnect your Ethernet cable and use it for whatever you want. Ha! Now you can't, suckers. So you can only use what the room allows you to use because that's what's best for the customer. Right? Does that make sense? So by the time we're done, by the time we're done, so this is the way our lectern looks now. So this is actually in operation. When someone walks up to it, you've got your lectern mic. There it is. You've got your screwed down laptop. You've got your cable for extra devices if you want to use your own device. You've got your stupid webcam that I don't want to talk about up here. And here's your GUI. Touch the screen to begin, and the first thing it asks is, yes, do you want an assistant setup? And then you can start answering questions, and the room will start configuring for you. In the lectern, there's the stupid drawer. We actually had to label the stupid drawer because, whatever, it's fine. So this is all the stuff that's in here. Normally we have this with a rack plate over it, so people can't unplug stuff in here, so it's sort of a security measure. All that stuff still goes into our still dirty floor box. And then all that goes back to the credenza. This is all the stuff that they're never gonna have to touch. So this is all under lock and key. It's just stuff that lives here in the back. We have some screen anxiety at the moment, so we have oh my God, I need to move the screen and the control system failed. So we put that back here so we can do that if we needed to. And after this, we went from having to be at every event to having to be at almost none of the events. I was shocked at how well this worked. We would get calls from people I've never heard of before, and they're like, oh my God, I was just in whatever room, Tahoma, I used the assistant setup, it was amazing, it worked so good, thank you so much. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, really? That worked? Yeah, totally worked. So here's your automation formula, okay? You need to stabilize the technology, define what the room can do, and stay within those definitions. Do a well-made GUI. You do those three things, and your clients are gonna be fine. At least that's what we found. So let's do a quick summary. Set your expectations. What can the room do? What can the room not do? Make sure you define that. Make sure that you enforce that. Otherwise, all this is for nothing. Okay. Next, stabilize your technology. Hopefully, for your sake, maybe it already is, which is great. If it isn't, no one's going to trust your room. Address features like Zoom and doc cams and things like that. So for us, people want to walk into a room and they want to talk into the sky and they want people in Zoom to hear them. And in giant rooms like Tahoma, never going to happen. Not without $175,000 worth of stuff, which I'm happy to put in, but everyone's going to see it now. We don't want to see the technology, we just want it to magically work. All right, then we can't do that. So the way we address Zoom, as an example, in our DSP, we took one of our outputs, routed all of our microphones to it, routed that to like a little USB interface, which goes into the computer, and now, anytime you use a microphone, any microphone, it'll go into Zoom. And the people on the far end can hear you. Can you talk into the sky? No, you can't talk into the sky. I mean, you can, but it's not going to work. But if you talk into a microphone, they will hear you, and that's been a very happy compromise that folks are happy to have if they want to do a Zoom session. And of course, since the laptop is there, or you bring your own device, anything that you plug into it will automatically go through the speakers so you can hear folks on the far end. Where are we? Create your map. I used OmniGraffle. I like OmniGraffle. I get a lot of flack because OmniGraffle is not like, that's not Vectorworks, or that's not AutoCAD, or that's not some industry standard. Yeah, you're right, I get it, it's not industry standard. But we had, and I know how to use it, and it worked really well, so whatever. So I highly recommend OmniGraffle. They've got a couple of different levels for licensing and stuff that you want to buy. These guys are really great at this. Also, most of my wiring diagrams, I do in OmniGraffle. Take pictures. That's the next thing. Pictures are amazing. These are the adapters that we used to have in there before we went to the single USB-C cable. Side note, you might not think so, but if you try hard enough, you really can get a USB-C cable to fit in that Kensington lock hole. It takes a second, but you can do it. I didn't think you could, but we found somebody who could. So after you take your pictures, you're going to create your GUI, right, in Eschbach or whatever your programming software is. You're going to export that, bring that into whatever your programming software is, add all your commands for all your buttons. Test it a lot. Prep your room. Make sure that you're addressing all of the stuff that can't be automated, your microphones and your batteries and your stands and all that kind of stuff. And lastly, and this is actually really important, announce it. The people who regularly use that room, administration, whoever it is that will need to know, facilities, get the word out. Hey, we've updated this space. It has this brand new GUI. Tell me what you think of it. Go in there, use it, and then accept their feedback. They may like things, they may not like things. No big deal. Modify your map if you need to change it in your GUI. Off you go, push it out, and you're kind of done. So after we did all this stuff, like I said, we went from having to be at every single event. We get preemptive calls from people. Hey, I'm going to be in an event next week. I need one microphone. I'm not showing anything, but I really want a technician there just in case. Well, okay, just in case of what? Well, just in case. All right, so I send out a technician. We went from having to do stuff like that to having to do none of that. We get the occasional user error, but after that, it's been amazing how well this worked. And after a couple of months, I'm like, oh my God, I got to tell somebody about this. Like, I got to get some other people to do this. This is working really, really well. And I guess that's kind of it. So, questions, comments, insults. If you email me, I will give you the flow chart that I'm using so that you can have that as a reference. If you want the Extron programming stuff, I'm happy to share that with you guys. So if you want to take a closer look at what we're doing, use that as a template to modify it. I'll even give you the original OmniGraffle template if you want. I have a whole bunch of stencils and little pictures from Extron. Extron does a really good job of putting pictures of their stuff online. I just pull them offline. I don't know if I should tell Extron this. I just pull them offline and I make stencils out of them, and then I'm happy to share those with you. You can just drag them into OmniGraffle, and now you have a 1604 or whatever it is that you're using. So please, questions, comments. What did I not cover? Yes, sir.
So, do you ever get customers that even though you've got this assisted setup, they say, well, I know you got this set up, but can somebody just come and help me? It's like, our organization is, we call it KBA land, knowledge-based article. And there's a whole library of knowledge-based articles, and we all write them, we're all required to write them, tells people how to do things. We get a lot of, we show up in the classroom and they, to address an issue, and then they ask you, oh, by the way, how do I do this? And it's, oh, there's a knowledge-based article for that. I don't want to read a knowledge-based article. I want somebody to show me how to do this. Do you ever, after doing this, do you ever get that?
We do. We, in all of our classrooms, to your point, we had like a poster size kind of, one-page thing in like a plastic, sort of presentation thing, just sitting on the lectern of how to do stuff, all right? People don't read that. They're going to knock it off the lectern, they're going to break it, it's going to be on the ground, and then they're going to call you with those exact questions. So we do get that for our event spaces, and our response is this. If you want us to walk you through it, no problem. You call us during normal business hours, make a half-hour event in 25 Live. We don't even care when, just tell us when it is. We'll show up there, we'll show you how it works, we'll go through the assistant thing with you, we'll prove to you how easy it is. And then they love it. After that, they never ask again. Okay, maybe somebody who doesn't use it, every 5 years. All right, maybe they'll do it. But by and large, once you see how easy it is, they're like, oh my God, this is so simple. And then we never get asked again. So we did get that a lot in the beginning. It's really rare now. Once they see it, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they stop worrying about it, which is really what we want them to do. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How many event spaces do you have this deployed in?
Right now we have a total of 5 event spaces. In some form or another, we have this, basically we use this template in all 5 of those spaces. Some spaces do more than others, but we're using it in all of our major event spaces, and it's working really well in every single one. So I encourage you, give this a try, because it's been very effective for our campus. I make no promises about your campus, but it's worked really, really, really well for us. Questions, comments? How about an insult? I haven't had one of those yet. Mark, you suck. Yeah, good. Okay. Thank you very, very much for coming. That's it, yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Great. Ladies and gentlemen, one more thing, I totally forgot. I actually brought this with me. I was about to set it up. If you actually want to use the GUI for yourselves, I